Background camera, right, Jordy?
Yeah.
Okay, recording has started. And she's going to push the live button. And once it says we're live, then I'll stop talking. And we're on Facebook, right? Hmm. Good evening and welcome to the TalkWrite podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Stinnett, and we've got a pretty interesting show tonight especially for authors who are contemplating going wide. If all my guests would unmute your microphones, we can have a little chat about this. And Nick, why don't you introduce our guests?
All right. Today we have Erin Wright. She's an author of various romance, and I'm going to be asking her some specifics about that because it's kind of cool. And she is one of the co-founders of Wide for the Win, which is an extremely popular Facebook group, which is offering a guiding light for those of us who are completely dependent on our KU reads as a way to expand and discover the joys of getting it out there in multiple places. We also have Pamela Kelley, who is making use of her wide abilities and is doing extremely well from what I've heard. She is an author of women's fiction and mystery with 46 or more published books. And I think that's all I've got for the intro. And I want to ask about Wide for the Win. When did Wide for the Win start? And if you're a co-founder, who did you found it with?
Yeah, so Wide for the Win actually started in, excuse me, my cat is being useful, in March of 2019. So it is 3 years this month, actually, from when we started that group. And I started it with another contemporary Western romance author, Susie O'Connell. And I approached her and talked to her about doing it and talked her into it. And she hasn't told me yet that she regrets it, but she's probably just too kind to tell me. And we've been running it for the past 3 years. And yeah, it's grown way above and beyond what I ever imagined. So pretty exciting.
Have you ever considered branching out from the Facebook page to have like a blog site or a sort of a site like Nicholas Eric or Michael Gaughran has, where people can find various resources, or do they just go to the search function and try to look for what they want on the Facebook page?
That is such a good question. I have been working behind the scenes. If you guys want a little sneak peek into the life of Erin Wright, we have started up a company called Wide for the Win LLC, and I somehow became president of this said company. And we are building a website. We're going to have a university where you can take wide classes, and a blog and merchandise, and all sorts of things will be happening. And so we are just in the beginning stages of that, but we've been working on it for quite a while, and things are finally starting to take off. So for the moment, I just tell everybody to go to the Facebook group and get your answers there. But that will be changing over the next year as we grow, and we're going to actually have our own conferences and all sorts of things. So we're growing in a lot of ways coming up.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Pamela, let me ask you, and just so our listeners know, I already know the answer to this, but I really liked the answer, so I'm going to ask it again. Did you start wide, or did you start as Kindle Select?
So Kindle Select didn't actually exist when I started. So I started at the end of 2013. So my first series was wide, and it has always stayed wide. And then a couple years later, when KU became a thing, I jumped in and tested it on a totally different series, different genre, and I did that for a while. And then a couple years ago, when I was going to launch in women's fiction and kind of shift away, I went wide. And so now I prefer it, and I'm slowly moving what's left in KU. Hopefully we'll all be wide pretty soon.
When was your first book in 2013? Because that was when I started too.
I think we started around the same time, actually, because I remember we were chatting at the same time on Kboards back then. I think it was November 20th. It was right before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
So you were just 5 weeks after my first book.
Yeah.
That was a tumultuous time. I didn't even know the questions, much less the answers.
Yeah, I was just, I was on Kboards just soaking up as much info as I could get and then testing everything.
Yeah. The good old days.
Yeah, you didn't ask me, Nick, but I'll tell you anyway. I actually started in KU because when I first started, it was in the fall of 2016, actually. I was in August, but yeah, when I first started, I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but you absolutely cannot make any money when you're wide. And so only an idiot would go wide. And so of course I'm not an idiot. I'm going to go into KU and I'm going to make all the money. And so when I finally realized this is for the birds and went wide, I didn't know a single person who was wide, not a single person. And I started doing a lot of research, and I was just going to go wide. I was going to figure it out, and I did. And so then that, like I said, that was 2016 when I started writing, and I went wide in 2017. And then I started Wide for the Win in 2019 because I was getting a lot of questions. How can I do this? How can I be successful? And so I started the group to help people, but I didn't expect, I legit thought that we were going to have about 100 people in the group. And
now there's 11,000.
Yeah, it's completely insane. So, yeah.
I started like Pamela and KOLL, and then when they switched over to KU, I left it in KU, and for about a year until I figured out what was going on, I didn't really have a plan so far as going wide. And then I knew it in the back of my mind that at some point I would. And then I set a goal, not a date, but a goal. When my Amazon sales alone would float the boat, and KU was just blow money, then I would go wide. That way I wouldn't lose the house and lose the farm and everything. And I did it really slow. I took book 1 out, published it wide, took book 2 out. As soon as I didn't really contact KU and say, pull my books. I just unticked the box. And when book 1 was finally wide, I unticked book 2. And when it was wide, I unticked book 3. Sometimes there were several weeks between wide releases. Sometimes there was a couple of months. And sometimes there was 2 in a month or 3 in a month. But I think doing it real slow like that, because I cut off the KU readers from entering the series, because mine's a really long 22 volume series right now.
Right.
And by cutting off those KU readers, that allowed anybody who had already read the first book in KU to continue the entire series. And it took us, we started in February, Jordan, of 2020, right before the pandemic. I chose the pandemic year to go wide. And it took us all the way into December to get everything wide, except for the current book that was coming out. And I put it into KU so that that core group of KU readers, subscribers, wouldn't be left in the cold. They were able to read it. And so for the last 2 years now, I've been releasing in KU. And it's kind of the best of both worlds. I didn't see a big decline in sales when they couldn't get the books in Kindle Unlimited. Some people just bought them, and So my Amazon sales actually started going up very slowly. And for 2020 was a little bit low, but by 2021, I'd rebounded to what I was in 2019. Of course, that was the worst year of my publishing career because I was preoccupied with another endeavor, namely Nink. But yeah, it was quite an adventure. And if I had to do it again, I would do it even slower because there were some readers, I'd get emails, hey, I can't find such and such book in Kindle Unlimited. And I say, okay, well, here it is. I just send it to them. And that's really kind of freeing to be able to do that. And to be able to I can sell them on my website. I can sell them anywhere I want to.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the biggest parts about being wide is the freedom that you aren't stuck. You can't even give books away for free off your own website when you are in KU. You can't have your books in libraries. You can't, it's just, you can publish your ebooks on Amazon.com, the end. And
you can't even sell your own ebooks on your website.
Yep. Nope. Can't do it. And that's just not something that I'm comfortable doing is giving my entire publishing career over to a corporation that doesn't know me from a hole in the wall, you know? So
I think KU still has its place, especially for new authors, because it provides promotional tools that you really need when you're first starting out.
You know, it's so funny because I was actually just talking to somebody earlier today about that and how fundamentally I disagreed with that philosophy. It's actually very, very common. So I do believe I'm probably in the minority that I think that when you first start publishing as an author is a really terrible time to go wide. I mean, a really terrible time to be in KU. But I say that as someone who is obviously quite passionate about being wide. And I understand that I am not exactly an unbiased source of information, right? So on this particular topic, I'm not going to be unbiased, but there's actually quite a few reasons why you would want to just go wide from the beginning and not ever go into KU. So anyway.
Speaking of marketing tools, this is my first brain picking question. And I'm asking you, Pamela, because you're a very successful wide author. Well, both of you are, but I've known Pamela for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. With KU, when you're in KU, of course, you're still, even if you're wide, you can still advertise through AMS ads. You can do Facebook ads. What do you do to sell, to advertise wide?
So this is the interesting thing. And I think a lot of people in Erin's group thought I was nuts when I first told them kind of what my strategy was and how things exploded for me. When I went wide with my new series, one of the things I looked at, one of the reasons I went wide with it is I kind of went opposite of what the general wisdom is, which is if you look at a genre that is all heavily dominant trad authors, then you don't want to do that. You definitely want to be in KU. You don't want to go wide. If there's no other indies wide, you don't want to do it. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me because women's fiction is really dominated by trad. And so that's why I'm like, you know what? I've got this strategy. I'm going to go wide, and I'm going to use those Amazon ads to I had this idea that if I had about 100 keywords that were super micro targeted, because that's where I think Amazon ads relevancy is the most important thing. So what I did was I'm in this niche and I very heavily, like I'm what they call a whale reader. Like I read everything and I know my niche inside and out. So I know who the big authors are. I know who the middle authors are. There are some indie authors. And I kind of took a stair-step approach. I thought I want everybody. I want to heavily target Ellen Hildebrand, Nancy Thayer. My books are set on Nantucket. They are the big authors that are set on Nantucket. So they were like the no-brainers. But then I looked at, I mean, I am so much of a geek. I actually look inside all of the books and I look at the style and I look at the look inside, and what I'm looking for is similarity. You know, if somebody reads Debbie Maycomer, that's a good target for me. You know, they're it's a similar field to those books. And so I just kind of peeled back the onion and I looked at her also bots. I looked at Ellen's also bots. I looked at Nancy's also bots. So those are the big ones. Then I went to the middle tier. I looked at the indie authors that were already in the space. I looked at the ones, if they weren't flat out writing women's fiction, they were writing romance with romantic elements. So I looked at, there was a handful of authors that were riding under the radar, but I knew, because I was friends with them, I knew how well they were doing. So, and I knew that it would be easier for me to get into their also bots than to jump into Ellen Hildebrand. So I had kind of these tiers and I targeted everybody. I targeted author name, I targeted their best-selling book, and I targeted an older book that was a book one if they had a series. And I started out really small. I had this one ad. I spent about $15 a day was my budget. And I just slowly, just let it go. And I started it 2 weeks before the book release. So I had this idea that if it was on, I knew because it was book one, I didn't want to do a long pre-order because I wasn't established yet in women's fiction. And I just knew that wasn't going to go super well, but I wanted to at least kind of get the also bot seated. So that's what I did, and it started working. And then upon release, it just kind of really snowballed, really more than I expected. And I started getting these emails from Amazon. Oh, you've exceeded your budget. Now we suggest that you bump it up to, well, the first suggestion was $38. And I was like, what? That's ridiculous. That just seemed like so high to me because I was spending 15. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. And at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of money to spend. I had, I worked a job where I worked on 100% commission. I was a recruiter. It's kind of like real estate. It's feast or famine. And I had everything, all my deals that were supposed to happen didn't happen. So I'm like, oh, okay. Wasn't a good time. And I didn't have a whole lot of money to play with. So I had to be careful with what I was doing. But it was profitable. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to inch it up. And I went up to $25 and it blew through that in a day or two. And I started getting the emails again. Now it was suggesting 51. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do that 38 first. Like I was still hesitant to jump it up. So I went 38 and I stayed there for a little bit. Then I went up to 51 and I still started getting the emails. Then I went up to 100 and I'm like, okay, I was nervous. But at this point, the book was really climbing and it climbed into the top 100 a month after release. And then it stuck there for about a month. And it
Top 100 overall on Amazon?
Overall on Amazon. Yeah. It went on to the US.
In women's fiction, that's incredible.
Yeah, I went on to the USA Today list for 3 weeks in a row, which is bananas. And this little book, it just kept going and going. I maxed out at 125 a day. I couldn't afford to spend more than that. And I was at a little mini retreat with a bunch of friends in Asheville, and I could only take a couple days off. All my friends are there on vacation for the week. I'm sitting there in a conference room, and that's where I learned about AMG, because there's all these heavy hitters that are sharing information with me, and I'm sitting there looking at resumes and listening and trying to get my work done. So I had to work, but I'm also looking at what the book's doing, and everybody's like, holy shit, what's going on with your book? And the strategy worked. And I just kept upping the budget. And there was a lot of luck involved, luck and timing, and the strategy just worked. And at the time, it wasn't crowded with a lot of people doing this. And then while I was there, I actually ran out of money. And I'm like, you guys, I have to stop. I have to turn this ad off. I was like killing me. I had a friend of mine that was like, you're not turning it off. She's like, I won't let you. And she PayPal'd me $2,000. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I know you're good for it because I see what it's doing. I mean, it was making like $3,000 a day. It was bananas, that one book.
Whoa.
And then when I ran out of money, I got home and I ran out of money, and my sister was fascinated. She was calling me every morning to get the daily report. And she's the most conservative person. Like I've never in my life asked her to borrow money from her because I just wouldn't dream of it. She's so good with money and I'm not. But I told her, I said, I'm going to run out of money. I'm going to have to turn it off. And she goes, oh, you can't. She said, here's my credit card number. You can keep it going. She's like, I know you're good for it. And so I did. I kept doing 6 days later when the money, awesome. Everybody got paid back. But yeah, so that's what I did. And that's it. Worked.
So when was that? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just really curious. When was that happened?
May of 2019.
May of 2019. Okay. Wow.
Well, that's great for the Amazon sales, but how do you advertise wide? How do you advertise for Barnes and Noble? Or, I mean, they don't have a
So,
platform
I'll be
like
honest,
AMS.
I don't do wonderfully. I mean, I do okay those places, but it is a challenge. I do Facebook, and basically every time I post anywhere, I post all of my links. I push print pretty heavily. I do large print for everything that I publish, and the large print sells really well. And when I release, I try to have everything ready at once. So I don't always make the audio on release, but pretty darn close to it. So everything that I post and everything that I'll do like an ad, and then I'll run a Facebook ad on that, but it has all the links all separated out. So it's good. And I also separate out paperback, large print. I do hardcover now on some books, audio, so it's all there. That helps. During release week, I do BookBub ads, because to hit USA Today, I want to make sure I have, they say you need 500. On the other vendors, you don't. I've done it with like 150, but I use the BookBub ads to make sure that it's going there, because the combination of the Facebook ads and the BookBub ads, and I really only do the BookBub ads during release week because I'm horrible at them and they don't work that well, but I feel like they're at least doing something.
I know,
so that
I
you-
know Nick's sitting back there rubbing his hands together now. And Nick, you're the only select author in the group. I know you've got some questions.
Yes. BookBub is one of the ones I had a question about. They certainly go out of their way to ask you for all your other links, and it certainly seems like they want wide authors. I take it you both do BookBub featured deals?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not happy with them right now. They've said no, no to my Nantucket Inn 6 times in a row right now. But I did on my last release in June, I think it was June, I did one of their new release featured deals. And I had a lot of other ads going with that, but I thought that was good. And somebody told me not too long ago that they've always had the new release announcements that you can do that are free. You can do with a paid one, but now you can do 2 paid ones as well. And I didn't know that until recently. So I just started doing those, and those are really good to get the word out wide, because
I didn't know
it'll
that
go.
until about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's new to me. Do you have to have 1,000 followers in order to do that one?
I think so. I think you do. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think so.
Well, let me ask both of you, what would you say the performance of the wide sales are from the BookBubs? I'm kind of wondering if BookBub subscribers are not necessarily as Amazon centric as the wider populace.
It's been so long since I've had a BookBub. I know they always lift sales everywhere, but it's been a long time for me.
So featured deals, when I do them, I always do free. I don't actually put any money towards advertising a book that has a price tag on it. That's just my personal philosophy. So I'm always advertising my free books, or because I write in a series, but they're all standalones, and so I will get a BookBub on, say, book 7, and that it will be free always. So in terms of downloads, I get significantly more downloads on Amazon, but I end up actually making more on the wide storefronts, because the read through is so much higher on the wide storefronts than it is on Amazon. The
Absolutely.
read through for Amazon is so low that even though they way outstrip in terms of downloads, a lot of the readers are just kind of freebie seekers, right? They'll get that book, it's free, they'll read it, but they won't read through to anything else. The wide readers are much more loyal. And so not in terms of my BookBub, because I don't think I've done that calculation recently, but I can tell you overall for my ebook sales, out of the 5 main storefronts, this isn't including serial apps or libraries or anything else, but out of the 5 main storefronts, Amazon is only about 35 to 40% of my income for my ebook sales. The rest of it all comes from wide storefronts. So I have found it to when I first went wide, I was making 85-90% of my income from Amazon. And over the years, it has just been dropping year over year. How much is coming from Amazon at the same time that my overall income is rising year over year. So my Amazon portion keeps dropping as my overall income keeps rising. So I'm pretty happy with that. But I don't actually run any cost per click ads at all. I've never run a Facebook ad in my life. I don't know how to. I would literally have to Google to find the Facebook ads dashboard to even figure out where to go for that. I have no
I'm
desire
right
to
there
run.
with you.
Right?
I do Facebook ads. Well, I pay somebody to do Facebook ads for me.
Right.
And and I found some sharp cookies, and my Facebook ads do really, really well. But I just can't get outside of a BookBub feature deal. Like you said, I do only 99 cents. I haven't done a free. I'm afraid to do a free anything because I'm worried that Amazon will put the price back up to 99 cents the day before. Nick, you've run into that, didn't you?
No, my whole thing was that a manual price change got stuck for 181 hours and I lost a book club. But I've only done one free, and Wayne, let me tell you, I will attempt them from now on because it did much more for me over the long run.
The free does really good for KU because it's inherent in all of us to just do. We're creatures of habit, and they see free in the BookBub featured ad. They click on it. They go to Amazon and they download it on KU instead of getting it for free and keeping it forever. They download it on KU, and it explodes your page reads.
Well,
but I would think now that you're wide, you would really benefit from doing a free on book one out of a 22 series.
I'm really hesitant to do it just because I'm scared.
You
I've done three Facebook featured deals wide, and the wide sell-through is really, really good. A whole lot better than the Amazon sell-through. Amazon sell-through is maybe 10%, very anemic, but wide sell-through is up above 30%. And
what is your pricing on your book one?
Normally $99 or $2.99, and for a BookBub feature deal, I'll drop it to 99 cents.
I personally would stick with 99 cents. I think free has its place, but for your main series, I would stick with the 99 cents. And I think I kind of screwed myself a little bit because I did do a free one. That's the only one I've had on the Nantucket Inn was a free one, just because I used to only overdo the free ones. And now I think that's why it's harder for me to get the 99 cent because I did free. But aside from that, the reason I want to do free so much is I'm a total geek. I use something called Helium. And what Helium does is it's like a tool with it's like a keyword search tool. But one of the things it does that I love is that it sits on Amazon. And so you can look up any book at any time and see the price history and the rank history at a glance. And geek that I am, I often will look, and I started noticing this pattern that when people did 99 cents or like I look often at the top 100 books and I'll see like, books bounce back in there often, like these trad books bounce back in. And then I'll look and I'll be like, well, what did they do? And a lot of times they drop the price, and that makes the book bounce back up. So I had a friend who it was a few months, maybe like 6 months after she released, her book went bananas and it did really well. And then she did I think it was I don't know if it was a Kindle daily deal or a BookBub. She did something where it was 99 cents. And then when it bounced back to its regular price, she's stuck in that top 100 for a long time. And I started seeing a lot of other people do that. And I think, my goal is I'd like to do this in combination with AMG, if I can get that working again, and that can keep a book sticky longer at the higher price. Because my whole thing is I like to get the book one up, because if I can keep the rank on book one up, I make so much more money on the whole series.
Absolutely.
You know, it's so funny because I legitimately cannot tell you what my ranking is on Amazon for a single one of my books. It has no correlation to my income at all. And so I find that fascinating. Like it just does not matter. I run paid newsletters to book one, and I do cross promotions with other authors, but ranking is literally not part of my daily. The only time I ever pay attention to rankings is if I have a book club, because then I'm like, ooh, I want to see if I hit number one, and I usually do, and that's exciting, you know. But other than that, like after that, I cannot tell you what my rankings are on any of my books, because it just doesn't have anything to do with my income. So why do I care, you know?
Right.
So Pamela and I have very different strategies, which we've talked about this before, actually, in Wide for the Win. We've talked about discussions about that. So I feel like it's important for people to know that there isn't just one way to do wide.
He's
Yeah.
signaling Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering, I'm like,
No,
what
no.
does this mean?
No, you're good. Continue.
Okay. I just yeah, I don't do BookBub ads. I don't do Facebook ads. I don't do AMS ads. I do all paid newsletters, and I just have a perma-free. Draft to Digital did a study where they pulled in numbers from a wide variety of series, where they compared series where the first book in the series was free versus series where the first book in the series had any sort of price tag attached to it, 99 cents or above, and compared the income between the two of them. And the series where the first book was free wildly outperformed, on average, series where the first book was paid with any sort of price tag. And
I guess I'm
so,
just going to have to jump in because I actually wrote the first book in my series is Fallen Out, and it's a 22 book series, but
Mhm.
Fallen Out was written fourth. I wrote it with the idea that it was going to be perma-free. And when I published it, it started selling so well. I said, well, hell no, I'm not going to give this away. It's making money.
right? Yeah.
But I'm thinking that now that there's 22 books in the series, I can really, it's not a big loss to lose that income from one book.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing you don't want to do if you are wanting to get BookBubs is you don't want to have book one be 99 cents. That makes you very non-competitive for BookBub, because BookBub will do perma-free books. So if you make your book free and then you apply for a BookBub next month, you're not going to have any issues trying to get that BookBub, right? They specifically outline this on their blog. You can go to their blog and they talk all about this on their website. So perma-frees do really, really well in terms of competing for a spot on BookBub, which is not always the easiest to get, of course. But once you have any sort of price tag associated with your book, Amazon BookBub wants it to be a really good discount. So if you have a 99-cent book and you're dropping it, you're like, hey, I'll drop it to free and pick me for a BookBub, they'll most likely turn you down.
I
If you
used to
have
get featured deals like they were growing on trees. In 2015, I had 9 BookBub feature deals in one
Yeah.
year. I mean,
Yep.
there was every month for like 5 or 6 months. And it was just such an incredible ride. But
Yeah.
I'm really thinking that a perma-free book one would be the way to go.
Well, or
free
because
wide goes better.
you do have it currently priced at $2.99, so there's no harm in taking a shot at a traditional attempt to get a 99-cent like you always do, but then go for the free every time.
Well, I've done that. This past year, last year, 2021 was I only had 2 BookBub feature deals, and I say only. There's a lot of people that never get them. Well, they just don't apply enough. There's not a single day that goes by that BookBub isn't looking at one of my books. Not a single day. And with 22 of them, I can go right through every one. I usually only get through 5, and then I can start back over with 1. But I got so frustrated because they weren't accepting any of them that I took book 10 and applied with it. And it's priced at $7.99. And they accepted that the next day for 99 cents. And it actually did pretty good.
Hmm.
But I don't like the idea of advertising a book so deep in the series.
Yeah, so being higher priced at $7.99 made you much more competitive for the 99-cent book, Bub. So if you were at 99 cents trying to get free, you're not going to be nearly as competitive. If you're at $2.99 trying to go for a 99-cent book, Bub, you're not nearly as competitive. So they really want to see either the book's already free or you're greatly discounting it. Those are the two ways to get a book, Bub.
Yeah.
If you're worried about it price matching and sticking, statistically, right, there's always going to be exceptions, but statistically, if your price is going to flip back to being paid, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Every once in a while, somebody will be like, I had this book free for a year, and then all of a sudden it flipped back to being paid. That's very unusual. Most of the time when somebody flips back to paid, it's within at least the first month, if not the first couple of weeks. So if you switch it over to pay, or switch it over to free, excuse me, and you have to ride them a little bit of like, no, you put it back to paid, really, you want to make it free. Once it sticks, you really don't need to worry about it flipping back to paid. I've had my books pay free since 2018, and they are not flipping back to paid, I promise. So once it goes, it stays. Don't worry so much about that. You do have to ride them a little bit in the beginning. Sometimes they
It
will.
makes you wonder why Amazon doesn't offer this, just the same as, some of the wine retailers. Not a 1 week free deal once every 90 days, but permanently free.
They hold it hostage is what it is. They're holding it hostage so that you are encouraged to go into KU for exactly what you're running into, Wayne, where people don't want to have to worry about it. So it's like, no, I won't give this to you for free unless you go into KU, and they hold that. And so it encourages people to be in KU because they don't want to have to deal with it. That's legitimately what it is. I mean, nobody from Amazon has told me that, but there's no other reason that I can think of that they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the reason why, because of KU. Have you ever done free on book one though? Just thinking now that your series is so long, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Oh yeah, book one has been featured in BookBub, I'm thinking 8 or 9 times.
Oh, as a freebie?
Split 50-50 between free and 99 cents.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. You were making it sound like you'd never made the book
That
free.
you'd never done
but
free,
you were
yeah.
in
No,
KU.
while it was in KU, yeah.
Oh,
But now that I'm wide,
okay.
it's a little bit more complicated.
Here's the truth of it. It's really hard to make any significant amount of progress on wide storefronts if you don't have a freebie. The wide storefronts, that is going to be your primary driver of new readers. That's why for every single wide storefront out there that has a merchandiser, so Apple, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble, they specifically have promotions for permafreeze, first in series. That is what they call that promotion, is we want to advertise the first book in your series as a free book. Why? Because it makes them money. The Apple is not here to give out money to authors randomly and be like, here, take some money. Hey, what about you? Like, they want to make money as a corporation. They make money with free books. Otherwise, they wouldn't be willing to run in-house promotions for free for these free books. They're not charging authors anything for this, and they do it because it works. So free, if you want to increase this slice of your wide pie, right, your overall scribe count, free, you are definitely going to want to do that and keep it free.
Jordan, send an email to Jennifer and tell her to change Falling Out to free right now.
I convinced him. Sorry, Pamela, what were you saying?
I'm just kidding. I'll do that in the morning.
If you've never done it before, wide, that is the best way to jumpstart sales. Wide is a free book by far, definitely.
Yep. And there are in-house promotions for free books, right? So on Apple, on Kobo, and on Barnes and Noble, you get in-house promotions. Are you using in-house promotions at all?
Again, I hire other people to do all this, so I don't know. I don't even know what that is.
I feel like I'm doing a consultation right now. I usually charge people $150 for a consultation with me. You're getting a heck of a deal over here. Yeah, you definitely want to do in-house promotions. So maybe have your people talk to my people. Maybe we'll want to
Okay.
work
Yeah.
on some things, because I feel like there's a reason why your wide sales haven't taken off yet.
I mean, they're
one
good.
reason.
I'm combined. All my books are making anywhere from $50 to $100 a day on Barnes and Noble and Apple. Slightly less on Google. Well, a lot less on Google, but Drafted Digital is really, really good.
Which storefronts do you get to through Draft Digital?
Everything except Barnes and Noble, Apple, and Kobo, and Google.
Okay, so
I go direct to the big four, and then Drafted Digital does all the rest.
Okay.
So I have a question, Wayne. You said you do good on Drafted Digital. What is, if you're on all the major ones directly, where are you selling on Drafted Digital? It's doing really well.
Primarily libraries.
Oh, you go to Hoopla through there. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Libraries are doing really, really good, and all the KU subscribers who are emailing me that they can't find my books on KU anymore. Hey, check out your library. They're probably there, and it's free, and you don't have to pay $9.95 a month.
Yep. Yeah,
that's one of the
things that I feel like people don't understand is, well, but people can't afford my books. If I go wide, then they have to pay for them. It's like, you know that libraries have been around longer than Kindle Unlimited. Like this is not you are already
I think what it is, the concept of downloading an ebook from the public library, which is where they used to go and walk in and go to the Dewey Decimal Catalog file and find a book and go over and pull the book off the shelf and take it up there and get your card stamped. And libraries aren't that way anymore. Libraries have entered the digital age.
They have. And as a former library director, that makes me very happy to hear that you say that. I was in libraries for 7 years. So that just really makes me happy to hear that you understand how important libraries are and how they have changed. There's that misconception out there that ebooks are not a big part of libraries, and that's just not even true. Yeah.
And
there's a lot of
audiobooks also. My audiobooks sell a lot in the library system.
there
I was just
are
gonna, audio has been, wide audio has been the biggest surprise to me, because I thought you had to stay in Audible. I thought if I went wide, and I gave up that 40 down to 25%, it wasn't going to be good. I make 3 to 4 times more outside of Audible than I do at Audible. It's really good.
I went the extra mile. I pulled my books out of ACX, went through Findaway, and they distribute to everybody except Audible. You cannot get my audiobooks on Audible at all. And I do just as well as I did with ACX. And this month, probably better, because I had a chirp. And so Audible's, it's the biggest in town, but there's a whole bunch, there's so many more. And Findaway distributes to 42 different distributors. 2 of those being Amazon and Audible, but you still have iTunes. iTunes is still part of Findaway, and I'm doing just as good. It took a month. I had one bad month. January was kind of low, but February was really good. And I don't have the finals in yet for February, because a lot of these retailers don't report to Findaway until the end of the month. The end of the following month. So I know that January had a huge spike on January 31st, and I expect a huge spike on February 28th, but not until not until the end of this month when those reports come in.
Yeah, Isn't it funny how all the wide audiobook retailers all have sales register on the same exact day, the
Yeah.
last day of the month? It's bizarre. But that's interesting that you're off of Audible completely. I'm with Pamela. My Audible sales are significantly smaller, but I still am on Audible. I make more on the wide storefronts though, and with the libraries. So
Well,
what made
this
you?
whole thing about Audible Gate
Mhm.
started a year ago, last October. I had been
Yeah.
noticing it for 2 years and complaining about it. I could see the returns because, unlike a lot of people, I'm really, really nitpicky about keeping records. So I've been recording daily sales just for that one day. And if you look at a
Mm,
1 week period, you won't see the returns because it's cumulative.
yep.
And
Yeah.
it's every day I would see book 9 was returned, and the very next day, book 10 got sold. And then 2 days later, book 10 was returned and book 11 was sold. And I could follow it right through the entire series.
Yep.
And I had steam coming out of my ears sometimes. I'd just getting so angry over it. And then finally, when it became public, what was going on, and everybody knew what was going on, and I'm like, I've been telling you guys that.
I could have told you that a year ago. Absolutely. Yeah. Audible Gate has been its own thing. And I've been donating money to that legal cause, and I'm really hoping that they kick some butt, take some names, because it's crap. But anyway, that's really cool. And I'm glad that you're getting chirps too. And that's really awesome. Have you ever considered going direct to Kobo with your audiobooks?
No, I didn't want to have to deal with a whole lot of, because I have to pay these people to do each site that they upload to. And
Mhm.
uploading audiobooks was very time consuming. Nick helped out a whole lot. Nick's also my narrator. He's not just another author, he's also an audiobook narrator. And he helped out a whole lot with that. And I'm going to pay you for that, Nick.
I think we established next time I'm at Nick, you just buy my drinks at the Tiki Bar. That'll be good.
Okay, you got it.
Do we have any YouTube? We've been going, but we're coming up on 7:30 here.
We're not on
And
YouTube.
oh, well, do we have Facebook
We're on
questions?
Facebook.
Do we have queries?
I don't know, because I can't access Facebook and be on Zoom at the same
I
time.
can. Where do I go? To your
my page?
personal
Yeah.
webpage?
Yeah, to my personal Facebook page.
Okay. I see no comments, but that's probably because I have to refresh.
Or it could just be because we're boring.
Or we're just constantly going here. So yeah, all right. There's a lot of likes and things, but we have no questions. So then I'm going to ask one. After Amazon, is there a secondary gorilla there in the wide, or are there clusters of them that are all about the same? Like, is Apple significantly more than Barnes and Noble, or would you say number 2, 3, and 4 are all pretty close to each other?
This will be interesting, because I think this is probably going to be a lot based on genre. Erin, what's your results look like?
Yeah, I think genre and how well established you are. So when I first went wide, Apple was my big deal. I couldn't even be on Google Play at that point. I don't know if you guys remember back when they weren't accepting new authors. And so I wasn't on Google Play at all. And Kobo, I sold nothing, literally nothing. I purchased my first books on Kobo. I was my first sale, because I thought that the Kobo dashboard was broken, and I was going to prove it by going in and buying my own books and then showing that, hey, these sales didn't come through. Obviously, there's something wrong with your dashboard. And then
they showed up on your dashboard.
Then they showed up. Yes. So
that's
yeah.
really disheartening.
Yeah, right. So luckily it's gotten better, but yeah, Kobo's still my smallest storefront. Anyway, so but for me it was Apple out of the gate, and then Barnes and Noble underneath. And it has actually since switched. Barnes and Noble sometimes beats out Amazon as my top storefront. Not my top retailer, but I'm not just my top wide storefront, but my top storefront period will sometimes be Barnes and Noble. So, because my read through is just so strong on Barnes and Noble. They are just freaking loyal readers. Love you, Barnes and Noble readers. You're the best.
What about you,
make me lots
Pamela?
of money.
I'm about really neck and neck between Apple and Barnes and Noble. One month Apple will be a little bit ahead, and the next month Barnes and Noble will be a little bit ahead. Kobo is really far behind, except that's where I get some library stuff through Overdrive. So actual sales on Kobo, I do like almost nothing. But my library stuff is pretty good there. And then Google is by far my lowest. I don't do a whole lot on Google. And then Amazon, for me, I'm easily over 90% on the ebooks are from Amazon, definitely.
Mine's the same, probably 90% or better for Amazon. And when I first started going wide, Barnes and Noble was top and always was up. And it's been 2 years now, and always was up until December. And December, Apple and Barnes and Noble were almost identical. I mean, they were less than $1 difference for the entire month.
Oh.
And then January, Apple started climbing higher. And in February, Apple really eclipsed everything. Kobo's always been really, really good for me. Almost of the three, it's probably 40%, 40%, 30%.
Huh.
Somewhere in that range. And of course, Google down there picking up the minus 0.5% or whatever it is.
Do you do any library through Kobo, or are you strictly sales?
Library and library through Draft to Digital also.
So, but
Hoopla.
Overdrive, do you get to Overdrive through Kobo or through
Overdrive through
Draft to Digital?
Kobo. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because you can get to Overdrive both places, both ways. And so it's really good to make sure you're either Kobo or you are Draft to Digital, but not both. So.
And Kobo Plus, their subscription series is starting to climb also. So that's really helping to push Kobo up.
I haven't tried.
I was going to say, Wayne, when you're talking to readers and they're like, hey, why can't I get my books for free anymore in KU? Not only libraries, but the other options are Kobo Plus if they're in the right country, right? It's not all around the world, but they're spreading pretty quickly. They keep adding new countries. And
well,
the other
for
option,
a reader who is a subscriber to KU, subscribing to another source like KU is the reason they're subscribed is because a lot of them are on fixed incomes and they really can't afford to buy. So they really can't afford to subscribe to two outlets. So the library is the big answer.
Right, but there's no reason that they couldn't switch, right? They were using KU, maybe now they use Kobo Plus because it will get them into a different pool of authors. If they
just cancel KU for 3 months and try Kobo Plus for 3 months.
The other one that's a really good option is Scribd. So the word scribe, but you replace the E with the D, and you get to that through Draft to Digital. And they are also a subscription program. And so, and in fact, their subscription, it allows you to do ebooks and audiobooks. So that's a really good suggestion if you are talking to readers of like, hey, these are some good options and some other ideas. KU is not the only place out there.
Findaway might already send your audio to Scribd, possibly. Do they, Wayne?
Findaway does, yeah.
Yeah, but as a subscriber, when you subscribe to Scribd, you are getting ebooks and audiobooks as a subscriber.
I get a lot of audiobook downloads through Scribd.
What sort of royalty does the author receive if when Audible someone uses a credit, you might be getting $3.50?
Very small.
I follow that every day when I record sales. Right, one of the problems with Findaway's dashboard is it's just not real user friendly. You can't see individual sales, individual titles, individual days. You have to sort through it and find each one individually. But what were you asking?
I'm curious, like if someone gets a book through a subscription at Kobo, what is the cut that the author gets?
It's about 50 to 75 cents on average, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a flat rate, isn't it?
Well, for ebook, it's either a flat rate or it's there's two different ways. They can either buy it for flat rate or they can stream it or borrow
Yeah.
it, and you get a certain amount per borrow.
Yeah, I tracked ACX sales for a long time, and finally concluded it doesn't matter whether they're ALOP or whatever. The average is going to be about $4.40 a month, or $4.40 per
unit.
sale.
Yeah.
And through Findaway, it's about $3.60. So it's not a whole lot of difference. My February results are down a lot more because one of my books, which has been selling like hotcakes through Findaway, is only 99 cents for the audiobook. So that's skewed things a little bit. But overall, it's comparable. It's actually probably better than Audible if you weren't exclusive. The 25, what is it, 25% versus 40%?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
The
it's
big thing
probably better.
what you might find though, Wayne, is it's going to grow. It's going to grow. Because I found when I first went wide, it was a build, and it's like a delay. And it wasn't until I think 4 or 5 months with my audio and my first chirp, the combination. I had my first chirp deal, and I was 4 or 5 months in, and that's when things took off for me with the audio, and it really kicked it up.
I'm really happy with it so far. And to be honest, I sleep a lot better at night because I'm no longer looking at those returns from ACX.
Right. I will say that with audio, it is quite interesting where you can play with your pricing more, especially if you're not on Audible, because Audible is a storefront that they're like, no, I set your price and this is what what we're going to charge and whatever, right? But all the other storefronts allow you to set your own pricing. And there's back in the good old days when you could set a book to free and you didn't have to advertise it, and it just went absolutely bananas and you made just tons of money, right there. And then perma-free isn't like that anymore necessarily. You have to be putting advertising dollars towards it, especially on Amazon. The wide storefronts, not quite as much, but there isn't that natural virality that comes from just putting a book to free. That still exists in audio. If you are willing to put your first book to free on audio, you can actually make a lot of money, because there are very few audiobooks out there that are free. So
I priced mine really low, way lower than the standard, because all my audiobooks have paid for themselves already. And well, all except the last 2, and they were just released 3 months ago. But I priced the first one is priced at $5.99, and then the rest climb up a little bit. And my highest price is still less than the discounted price for Audible to buy a second credit. And now they're going on my website too.
Nice. Try dropping the first one to free. And the good thing about it is that you don't need to do price matching, right? You do not need to worry about price matching at all.
No,
even if your
Audible
books were
will
on
keep
Audible.
it at $20 for no
Exactly,
reason.
exactly. So all you have to do is go on to Findaway Voices, change the price to whatever you want it to be. Try doing a couple of free runs, drop it to free, turn it back to paid, drop it to free, turn it back to paid. Your sales will go insane.
Okay,
My
that's 2
audiobook
things
people,
I'm going to do tomorrow.
I know
Make
my
another note,
audiobook
Jordan.
people right now are probably screaming, because I share profits with an audiobook company who approached me, and they pay for the audiobooks, and then we split the income and blah, blah, blah. But it's a very small company. It's just me and a couple of other authors, honestly. So I have a lot of say in what we do in terms of promotions and such, and I have a lot of insight into it. It's much more than it would normally be like if I just gone through Tantor or something. But anyway, they're probably like screaming into their pillows right now, "Shut up, Erin, shut up," because I'm giving away all their secrets. But this is how we make so much money on audiobooks. And we split it 50-50, right? I only get half of the income, and I'm still making really good money because of playing with pricing on audio.
All
So,
right. Well, we are past the end of the show, and Jordan is looking at me with fierce eyes because Jeopardy is on, and we do not miss Jeopardy. So we're going to go ahead and close the show. I really appreciate you, both of y'all, for being on. It's been really interesting, and I know I've come away with some great ideas, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate the wisdom that we've learned, and hopefully everybody can run with it and have better sales. So until next month, and next month will be Hot Tropics, right, Nick?
Yes, April is Hot Tropics.
Hot Tropics month. So come back next month.
Bunch of people.
We're not limiting it to just 9 like we have in the past. We may have 20 or 30 tropical authors all clamoring for position. And as always, thanks to our sponsors and supporters, Down Island Press, Down Island Publishing, Pirate Radio, Aurora Publicity, and How Not to Sail. Hey, Bradford. All right. Good night, everybody.
good night.
Night.
Okay.